So anything that what did you discover in these exercises in terms of this notion? Again, the idea here is on a hero's journey, part of the purpose of any trial is we are in some way evolving, we are growing. A hero's journey is always a learning journey. It's a journey of evolution. And so when you get out there, we said that you're going to get on that threshold. You're going to get on the edge of your comfort zone, right? So here's your comfort zone. I'm in my zone. This is where I can operate effortless excellence, humble authority, confidence. But guess what? The world is not going to let me just stay there. It's going to come like this, or this, or this, or it's going to come like this, or like this. And what I have to learn how to do is first, how can I stay in that zone with even that happening? And then how through that can I expand my repertoire of possibilities? How can I grow even in this difficult situation? How can I grow? When I was mentioning my mother's hero's journey with her healing from recurrence of breast cancer, when she first got this news about this breast cancer, it was the worst thing that ever happened to her. She would say, it's the worst thing ever happened in her life. Later on, she'd look back at it and say, that's the best thing that ever happened to me, right? So the trial is a challenge, right? It's not easy, but when you can evolve through it, it actually becomes the best thing that ever happened to you. So that's the kind of thing we're exploring here. You know, how do I stay in the zone even when I'm on the edge of the zone? And the key is that you will never be able to always stay in the zone. There's a story about the Aikido master, and all of his students are so amazed at how calm and, you know, flexible he's able to constantly be. And they say, how is it that you never lose your center? And he says, that's where you're wrong. It's not, I lose my center just as much as any of you. I just get it back more quickly. Meaning that the skill is the calibration. How do I get back to that place more quickly? Life will push you. Circumstances will push you. Believe me, you think you're there and something will broadside you that you didn't even expect. All the things that you're expecting, you've got all your protections up, you're ready for it, you've dealt with it, and it's going to come from a direction that you don't expect. So the key is being able to learn to get back there. So I'm just curious,
I just want to say about that, that's why these are practices. Because if here I am, I'm centered, this workshop has brought me all this whatever wonderful insights, I'm feeling really centered in my body, now I've got it. And if you start to think I've got it and hold on to it, whoosh. So it's practicing coming back, because we will lose it again and again and again. And accepting that is just the natural nature of our movement through life is a great resource. Yes, now it's like this, and I can come back to it. I was just sharing with someone at the break. I often hear, I feel so good now, but I'm afraid it's not going to last. And that thought, I'm afraid it's not going to last, already projects us into the future. But if I keep practicing the ability to come back to myself in the present, and I can meet what happens because I'm more and more here in the present, then I don't need to be worried about what I'm going to do in the future, because the future is just a series of present moments. So I just keep practicing in the present. And I've noticed in my own life as I practice that, the whole energy of anxiety about the future has very much disappeared from my life. It's not always gone, but most of the time I realize that I'm going to have the resources within myself to meet what happens. So that's why we insist on this whole idea of practice again and again.
As I heard somebody saying recently, I thought was very wise. It said, it's not that practice makes perfect. It says, because you're never going to be perfect. Practice makes permanent, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that's why it's also important that when you practice, you give that your attention. You know, it's something you practice, and you're constantly refining it. But what you do practice then becomes the basis off of which you can then become even more refined, more skilled. There's a little exercise that we like to do that has to do with the notion of what we call developing a second skin. Okay, so what many of you, and we've heard this comment too, is if we think about your hero's journey, there's one aspect where there's the physical connection, right, of energy, and one thing is about learning how to deal with that energy. But what you were also saying, Dai, is that there's other energy that comes that may not be healthy or helpful for you. And in the same way that when I'm doing this on a physical level, my hand doesn't actually enter your body because you have a skin. And that skin, though, there is something that you do feel in your body, right? There is a kind of a transfer, but your skin has that capability to filter, right? It says, okay, there's some things that don't invade me or come into me because I have a skin. But a skin is very different than an armor. It's not a rigid thing that lets nothing in. A skin is selective, but it's receptive. And so the little exercise that we would like to do, and we'll do this with two coaches, is an exercise on developing a second skin. And this is clearly an energetic skin, right? So what is really wonderful to be able to have, especially as a hero on these journeys, is when I encounter these situations, whereas we like to say in California, there's heavy vibes. That you want to be able to meet those, to not just be completely closed off and blocked off, but also to be safe. Yeah. So in this exercise, what we're going to do is first we'll have to take a starting point where maybe you feel we're going to go into one of those situations where you feel that your bowl gets emptied. Can you think of certain kinds of situations, certain kinds of people where that?
Yeah.
So why don't you, yeah.
So imagine one of those situations.
Well, put it into an action.
Well,
No,
yeah, actually,
just bring it to mind.
you're going to step forward and put yourself into it.
As
So
though
Yeah.
you were in it now,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
that
yeah,
situation is.
yeah,
And just feel how that feels. Yeah, you obviously know very well how that
Yeah.
feels.
Yeah,
The bowl is emptied and everything else that it does.
Yeah.
Your body, your expression,
and
feeling.
and really get that sense of where is that energy going and what's happening there. So what's the?
It's going.
It's going.
And is there another energy that makes that happen? Is there some other sort of energy, like in that situation? Is it when you're confronting somebody who is...
It starts agitation.
Mhm.
Starts agitation, yeah.
And then it reaches the head, and the head is starting to go like this. The washing machine effect.
Mhm.
And I'm aware of it all coming out. Actually, it's coming out of everywhere. It's not just going through there.
Yeah, it's like leaking out.
Yeah. And the head is just getting onto spin mode where I can't stop it.
And is this...
In this place.
And does
and
this
I know
involve
I feel I've got to press a button. Psh, stop.
Right.
To sort of get out of it.
Get out
I can't step further forward in this place because I'm just going down.
Right.
But if I press the panic button or the pause button, no, the pause button.
button.
Pause. Why am I feeling like this? Now I need to get
Get back.
it back
Right.
up in.
Now, one question is, in the situation, there's probably some kind of an external energy that's coming that makes this happen. Like, for example, does this happen around certain people, or in that situation, what is it that is coming from the outside that's not yours?
I'm giving.
So people are like
And
sucking.
I'm being sucked.
Yeah.
And I've just reached the point
Right.
where there's not a lot left to give. And wouldn't it be jolly nice if people filled my basket up for me?
Right. So, by the way,
So it's a bit of self-pity, really.
but this is another thing, which is that a skin also helps you to keep things in, right? Part of what your skin does is it allows you to sweat out toxins, but it saves the things it holds in the things that are vital to you. That's another part of what your skin does. Okay, so that's interesting to know. What part of what we're suggesting is that what you would need is if you had an energetic skin here, it wouldn't be, first of all, you wouldn't just be being sucked out by the needy people. You would be able to fill this space with your own energy.
I like that.
Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah, I like that.
So
now we're going to step
So
back.
leave that whole experience that you know over there. Yeah.
And by the way, we also see on terms of the journey, she says, I get here, the energy goes, and now I can't go on. Okay, so that's a type of threshold. I can't move forward. So here's what we get to do. And we're going to do it with you. The coaches...
I'm just going to set this down.
Okay. So what we're going to ask you to do, of course, and we will all be doing this, is to center, go to your feet first, and feel that sense of all the sensations in the soles of your feet. And at the rate of speed that's most appropriate for you, then you begin to expand your awareness up through your feet.
And do that in the way that you know it works for you.
Yeah. Connecting in with the belly center through the legs.
And feel the way in which that bowl fills up that you already know how to do for yourself. Mm-hmm.
I'm here, I'm open, I'm awake, alert, clear.
Feet very much on the ground in your axis. Mm-hmm.
Now, a very important thing, before we go to the space around you, we'd like to have you, and the coaches are going to do this too, face your hands towards each other and become very, very aware, energetically aware, that there is a field, a life force field between your hands. It's your energy that comes. It comes from this source, this place in your belly, from your heart, and you can bring it out through your hands.
Mm-hmm.
And feel that.
And it's kind of a combination of strength and softness. They're both there. You maybe let them just move a little bit in and out towards each other and away from each other, kind of like a pulsation, and just feel the density and the presence of that energy that maybe you even feel on the back of your hands. Almost like
comforting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you can
I
even
feel it getting bigger, actually.
Getting bigger.
I'm not
consciously doing that.
No. You're just sensing what is.
And when I do that,
there.
I can almost feel pressure.
Yeah,
when I try
exactly.
When you bring them close
because they
together.
want to go like that.
Yeah, that's right.
By the way, you can even bring, in addition to strength and softness, you can bring a little playfulness in there too.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So, as Robert's already said, energy goes where we put our attention, where attention
And keep
goes.
keep holding it there.
So keep
want
your
to put it
attention in. Well, we're going to do
It
that.
stays there.
Yes,
It's not going away.
In fact, it's connected.
That's making more of
It's
it.
absolutely connected. So stay aware of your presence
Feel
in your
that sense of
hands
movement that's there.
and the
It's
space
there.
around them, between them. Yeah.
And then in a moment, what we're going to ask you to do is, it's going to be as if you're going to take that energy and begin to sculpt it around you into a second skin, so that it's as if energetically you fill this place, but it doesn't go away. We're saying it doesn't go away from your basket. It's coming from the basket, filling that. And what we do as the coaches is we're going to observe that, and we're going to help you when we see where you're putting it.
Just to reinforce it.
Yeah. Now, what's very important as a coach, you're not putting your energy in there. This is her skin. What you're doing is acknowledging and honoring that. So you're helping her by you feeling that. Yeah, so here, like this. So in a way, it's like we really are holding this space. And as you do this,
All the way to the ground. That's right. All the way down to your feet.
yeah, and even can go under your feet, so you really have that sense that. So it's like up there.
Just checking it, it's all
Yeah.
the way around. No leaks.
And
No gaps.
you may even notice if this has in your inner experience, your inner world, does this have a color? Is there a texture to it? What is this skin like? That's your skin. This is your space.
It's rainbow colour.
It's rainbow colored. And so as the coach, interesting thing, I'm also seeing that rainbow.
And
It's
I feel very safe in
Yes.
this skin here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's all colours.
Yeah. By the way, I found myself, before I had any sense of this idea of a field mind, when I would be with clients, I would often find myself, my hand would go, and I wouldn't go any closer because I would know, oh, it was like acknowledging the skin and helping to hold that place of safety.
And you might experience when you coach your partner that you actually feel where they've put the limit. You'll feel that with your own hand.
And in a way, we become, as your coaches, of course, your guardians of this skin, this rainbow skin. And now what you get to do is realize that the skin is not tied here. It goes with you. It goes around, it's around that center. So if you turn this way, the skin is there.
Now I can now move anywhere and not feel any negative
That's right.
coming in because I've got my lovely cloak round.
Yeah. And what we're going to ask you to do, of course, is to step back in that situation.
Bring it on, bring it on.
Make my day, baby. And that's that interesting thing. So now you have a button. You can have a pause button, but you can also have your force field button.
That makes a lot of difference.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking that question. Perfect timing. Thank you, Dai. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So what we thought we would do then, to end this morning session, is to have us all come out. We'll come into this space, and Deborah and I will guide you through. We'll take 3 rounds, approximately about 5 minutes each, to help each other.
I have a suggestion.
Yes, dear.
How about let's do it with one partner?
Yes, you could do it with 1 instead of 3.
And
You
then
don't
we
need
only
to.
do 2 rounds.
Okay, isn't she so smart? I think that makes perfect sense. So what you'll do is the partner then will help you, will be your guardian of that second skin. And it's very, very interesting, it's very powerful to know that you can have that and to feel that place that you fill up with yourself. I know that is often super, super important for me. It's a part of a conscious preparation that I'll make when I'm going into challenging situation. Especially when I remember I was coaching a client the other day. This guy he's a director of a bank, and one of his big challenges was he had to go make a report to the board of directors. And he said he'd be all he'd be in his zone, be all excited, and he'd get into this environment with the board. And he said it was so heavy in there that he would just, kind of like what Dai was describing, he just would start to, and he would lose his voice, and in terms of what Judy was talking about, lose his energy, and not be able to do what he was setting out to do with this board. So we were working on developing a second skin, so he could go into that place and have, in a sense, an imperviousness or an immunity to that energy. And it's just a matter of, it's an interesting form of energetic mirroring. My energy is going to mirror that, not fight it, but mirror it, and yet keep my space safe. So, we are getting close to we're on the final stretch here, the part of the journey that is known as the return. I mean, and in a very real way, of course, we all are going to be returning from this journey that you've been on, this journey that's probably been quite different for many of you, right? This journey of using the body in this way, of using metaphors, symbols. I mean, this very, in some ways, archetypal, somatic journey. And the whole thing in the hero's journey about the journey home, the return home, is many times that is the climax of the journey. It's not always the way out. Sometimes it's the way back. Sometimes the return home, there's also a refusal. In the same way there's a refusal of the calling. Once you get out there, there's a refusal to go back home. It's a little bit like you get out there on the sun, and it seems so nice out there on the bank that you go, I don't want to go back into that room. I want to stay here. It's nice. So sometimes there's that sense of a refusal. Sometimes you don't want to go back because that return is going to be difficult. You've changed, and you know that it's going to disrupt the status quo, back home. That if you've changed, everything else can't stay the same. And, sometimes that return home is accompanied by feelings of guilt or sadness or, fears themselves. Oftentimes, there's a threshold, too, of coming home. I've got to get across another threshold to get back. So there are many things that make the return home a challenge.
And also, in general, transition times in our lives, and there are many transition times. There are little transitions and big transitions. But the big transition times often create vulnerability. And I don't know if you've noticed in your own life, perhaps leaving on a trip or returning from a trip, there can be a sense of irritation or kind of a not really knowing where you are anymore, or not feeling completely resourceful. Transition times often put us into states of vulnerability. So the return home might just be a heightened sense of vulnerability and not a particularly huge obstacle.
And those times of vulnerability, by the way, also bring out either little or big aspects of those survival strategies, right? Fight, flight, freeze, where we're in this transition, and maybe, like Deborah says, maybe it's irritation, or maybe it's just a depression. Maybe it's just a sense of emptiness or nervousness. So we want to acknowledge that. And in this afternoon, we're going to do a couple of things. Our first activity is around dancing with the demon or the obstacle. Now, obviously, all of us are in different parts of our journey. Some of us are just beginning. Some of you are maybe dealing with some of the challenges of the return home. And of course, we're on oftentimes multiple and simultaneous or parallel journeys. You might be in a journey in a relationship, a journey in your professional life, a journey in your self-evolution, your physical evolution. We were talking about the hero's journey of menopause, but you might have also that could be overlapped with a hero's journey of a change in your professional life, etc. So the first activity we're going to do is this, we call it dancing with the demon or dancing with the obstacle, where we're going to use the 5 rhythms in a form that we call a silent wave. So we won't actually be using music at first. And we're going to be having us work with obstacles. The way that we thought we'd like to do it would be if we were to go and, for example, you were to take the obstacle, the symbol of the obstacle that you brought, and we'll bring it out, and we'll be out here in the room, and you'll put it, and it's going to be the center of a circle. And what we're going to do is then do this process around that
Obstacle.
And that will be your That will be your that will demarcate the center of a circle around which we will put the wave. So you'll be going around that in a wave. So flowing, staccato, lyrical,
Okay.
chaos, lyrical, stillness.
And we're all going to be doing this at the same time. So there will be all these circles out here on the floor. And as we said, the obstacle, it might be the obstacle that you put on this table at some point during these 3 days. It might be an obstacle that you anticipate meeting on the return home that isn't on this table. It could be the obstacle of crossing the threshold that prevents you from crossing the threshold and going on to your journey. It could be a demon that you are already facing or one that you're afraid of facing. Anything that poses a challenging energy is a good choice for the center of this circle. Because what this is about and what this whole journey is about is transforming our relationship with the difficulties. And the difficulties come in many forms. The problem is not in the obstacle. The problem is the problem and the opportunity are in our relationship to it.
So part of what's going to happen is through this process of dancing with the demon, the dragon, the obstacle, is to transform it. And what would be, if we are truly successful in this, what would happen is the things would start off on that table, come to the center of this room, and actually end up on that table. They would actually end up as a resource, as a guardian. And so, in a way, we should have a stacked resource table, a stacked guardian table. So if you really could do that, that symbol would no longer be a problem. It could be your advisor.
Now, the interesting thing is, as we do this, and what we'll be doing is, this is my obstacle that I've chosen. We start the exercise by experiencing experiencing what the obstacle feels like and how our relationship to it is. You have
This
an obstacle?
is my obstacle.
Okay, let's do a real obstacle. Can you see what that is?
So it's a little spring this thing is all caught in it. And you can't get it out. But if you were able to do this properly, then you would be able to get so we could transform it through the rhythm and, turn it into something that actually becomes a resource. So I might put my obstacle there. But what I need to do is I would come into that and enter the energy of what makes that an obstacle, or what makes that a demon, or what makes that a threshold, whatever it is that I've chosen. So obviously you need to pick what resonates with you, where you are now, what stage you are now in your own path. And what we'll do is obviously bring that I'm going to bring what is the somatic expression of that. So that moves from a symbol into a somatic expression. And as we were doing yesterday, that will be some kind of repetitive, expression.
Then, as we do in all of these exercises, you leave that there, and that is going to represent, throughout the whole exercise, the energy that obstacle creates in you. We're going to see what happens in our relationship with it if we add the energy of flow. So everybody's going to go into flowing together and experience what happens. Here's the obstacle now outside of me. But if I bring in my life situation the energy of the resource of flowing into my relationship with that obstacle, how does my perception of it, how does my feeling of it change?
This rhythm with that energy, I'm dancing with it.
And then we'll go around. And now, what happens if I bring the energy of staccato into my relationship with that obstacle, etc., and around the circle? And what's very interesting is that you find that depending upon which energy you're in, your way of perceiving the very same obstacle changes. So we do a first circle around.
Then you're going to do a second circle where you'll again, so you'll just notice here it's my relationship with it. In the second circle, you'll bring the energy of flow. And what you're going to do there is then bring that energy into the expression of the obstacle. So what happens if I add flowing into this expression of the obstacle? And then do the same thing with staccato. And then chaos, lyrical, so on. And of course, in the end, you're going to step back into that place of the center and notice what's happened. Okay, so that's sort of one of the, to me, in a sense, the essence of bringing in the 5 rhythms as a resource for our hero's journey. Okay? So we will guide you through that. We'll all be, the other thing that we're going to be doing, I think this will be fascinating for you, is that we'll all be in the same rhythm, of course, together. So even though you're working individually with your obstacle, shadow, etc., you will be in a bigger field of the same energy.
So just one thing, because we're all going to be in the same space together, it would be so we each give each other our space. It would be good if we all started in the same direction, so that you put your obstacle here, and we'll start with flowing behind it, and we'll all move around this way. So that way we move together in the same space. Okay?
So when you're ready, we're going to go and either, if you're going to go get your obstacle, now maybe it doesn't mean the same thing as when you put it there. Maybe you can just still even use it to symbolize whatever place you are right now that is some place of an impasse, a stuckness, a challenge, and then bring that out and place it here on the floor. Okay, so step 1 is going to be to acknowledge the obstacle. So again, really take a moment before you step there to get a sense of where you are on your journey right now. Or maybe some of you are really still in the stage of the departure. Maybe some of you are in that stage of really, you're out in that unknown territory and you're dealing with the trials. Maybe some of you are on that return home and dealing with the challenges of the return. Really look at what your obstacle there, the symbol, and what that means to you.
And then when you're ready, you can step into that place. Just experience how the presence of this obstacle in your life, how that makes you feel, what that does inside of you, your relationship with it.
And again, you're paying attention to the sensations that this brings up for you somatically. What happens, what do you register in your body in the presence of this obstacle? Maybe the obstacle is in your body, or maybe it's something that you encounter outside of you but brings up a constriction. And
notice what emotional state it creates and how that affects your body.
And then allow your body to begin to form an expression of what this obstacle means to you in a somatic way, what's the movement.
So just notice how it affects your breathing to be in this state. There's very little free breathing in our collective space right now. Okay.
When you really feel that you have a good sense that you've been able to really feel that connection with that space of the obstacle, you can step back from it, take a step back and let that energy go.
And really leave it there and shake it out of your body and
Look at the symbol.
Look at it and put it all in that central space in the circle. Let it stay there. And as we begin all of the explorations now, really feel the presence of your feet on the ground. Again, this time in your own way, find that state that we have been calling the zone of centeredness, state of presence.
Openness.
Feet on the ground, present in your body, breathing, and connected to the belly center and the heart center and the head center. A state of readiness.
And when you can really feel that sense of readiness, centeredness, you have your second skin, you're connected to the earth, you're going to begin to allow that feeling of connectedness to the earth to bring into that and bring into that sense of present, open, awake, alert, clear. Begin to bring in that rhythm of flowing.
And flowing starts in the feet, so let it come up from the earth. The body naturally sways anyway, so just let that amplify and find in your own way that whole universe, the resource of flowing. And when you find that in your body, just let your eyes open enough to be aware of the obstacle, the energy of the obstacle that you've placed in the center of your circle, and see what happens in your feeling about this obstacle, your relationship with it, as you bring the energy of flowing to it. Staying away from it. You're outside of it now.
It's as if it's over there and you're dancing with it, but you're flowing and it's there.
You've got a little bit of leeway to move backwards and forwards. Just be sure to not step on your neighbor's obstacles. If your feet need to move, let them move. And breathe in as you flow. One of the great resources is our breath. And in flowing, since it's the first rhythm, it's where we start. We breathe in.
And really
inspire.
Bring flow as much as you can. Bring it into the head and the neck. Let the head flow and the neck flow. The shoulders flow.
And as though the obstacle were your partner in this dance, it is your partner in this dance. Just keep dancing in relationship to it. Do you need to move closer to it, farther from it? Does your body push it away? Does your body embrace it? What happens when you flow in relationship to this obstacle?
Sure, their flowing is in your spine, in your elbows, your knees and hips, your ankles. Remember, Gabrielle says flowing is where you discover yourself.
Do you flow quickly in relation to your obstacle? Do you flow slowly?
You can flow up, you can flow down, down.
And since we're moving without music, take advantage of the silence to hear your own breath, to hear your own in-breath. The in-breath that inspires, the in-breath that comes in and nourishes. What happens when you bring that immense resource in relationship to this obstacle?
And whatever comes, keep processing it through flow. Dance it in your flow.
Sometimes flow is exactly the energy that life calls for.
Keep coming back to that energy of the obstacle. Keep flowing. Dance with it and flow.
You might also remember that flowing is connected to the earth, and if you bring the element of earth into your relationship with this obstacle, what happens? And then gently allow your flowing to become still, or just a gentle swaying, and perceive this obstacle in front of you. This is, of course, something you could come back to, deepen. But for right now, we're going to move on and see what happens when we bring the energy of staccato to the obstacle. So take a step now
As if you're walking
to the
around the
right,
circle,
a fifth of the way around the circle,
counterclockwise.
to the right, and look at your obstacle and begin to let the beat come into your feet of staccato. The energy, the rhythm where we feel the fire, heart. And find your own speed for staccato where there's a pulse and you feel really that the beat comes from your feet and the ground.
And as Gabrielle says, that's where you define yourself. I'm here. This is me. That's not me.
Can be little beat, big beat, but it's the pulse of the heartbeat. And what happens when you bring that in relationship with the energy of the obstacle?
Make sure that staccato comes to your knees, to your hips, to your elbows, hands, your head.
And where we emphasize the in-breath in flowing, the staccato is the release of the out-breath.
Feel your strength. Feel your fire. Dance with the demon.
Perhaps it's the energy of determination, or the energy of setting boundaries, the energy of saying no or yes.
Might even help to make the sound of staccato. What's the sound? There was a voice, a staccato voice.
In relation to this obstacle, what would it be? Yes. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Really see how you perceive the obstacle. How do you feel about it from staccato? And now we're going to move into chaos. So take another movement around to the right. And keep in this beat you've got in your feet already in the staccato.
Left to right.
Both
Left.
sides. And that's your basis for chaos. The beat in the feet. And just begin to release. Release your shoulders. Release your head. Chaos can be as gentle or as big as you want, but it's released now. What happens when you go into this energy of letting go, dissolving whatever is fixed or stuck is just released.
What do you need to let go of in relationship to this obstacle, demon? And letting go is different than going away. You can stay present and let go.
So let your body find what that is.
And that chaos can be big or a little gentle, letting go.
And the chaos is grounded in the feet, grounded in your feet.
And if it helps, you can make the sound of chaos. Let go of your elbows, let go of your neck, especially your head. shoulders, your hips.
How does chaos change your relationship to this energy? Sometimes letting go is exactly what life calls for.
Staying present and letting go. Letting go into the safety of your being, into the safety of your center, into the safety of your feet. And even if you get tired, keep dancing tired. Just keep dancing, keep dissolving, keep letting go.
And feel for you when it's the right moment to move another step to right around the circle and to go into the space of lyrical, where there's lightness, where you bring lightness into your movement.
Once you've let go, you can begin to devote yourself to the expression of your unique energy. Playful, light, free.
Lyrical is when you are free to respond completely, authentically, spontaneously from yourself.
And dance in relation to that obstacle. You're free, you're light.
Air. Lyrical is air, the freedom of air, the lightness of air. Breathe. Perhaps blowing bubbles into the space between you and your obstacle. Perhaps finding magic flowing from your fingertips.
Lyrical is the rhythm of the artist, the magician, the shapeshifter. If you are a magician, a sorcerer, play with that obstacle. See my lightness, see my playfulness. When you're ready,
In your own timing,
as your body feels the time to move into the next rhythm, you can take another step.
into the energy of stillness, the rhythm of stillness, which is not immobility. It's
It's
finding the still place inside and letting yourself be moved by the life flowing through you, rooted in that deep still point.
Stillness is not the absence of energy, it's the full presence of energy.
Nothing in the way, spacious, fully alive and here.
It's our gateway to the field, to ourselves, connection, deep connection with yourself and beyond.
Bring that resource of stillness into relationship with this obstacle.
The knowledge that that obstacle is there, your response to that obstacle is there, but there's so, so much more. And when you're ready, we time to take a step back to the center, going a step, bringing as if you're taking the stillness into the center, into the place of the demon, of the obstacle, the threshold. And from this place of stillness, turn around where you see you are in the place of the obstacle, turning to see the different rhythms, as if you are
Turn
turning.
back and start looking at where you were in the place of flowing.
So if you were to turn to face the you and flowing from the center,
Staying in the center and just seeing if you would bring more flowing energy now into this place. And just see from the center now, from the place of the obstacle, is there a sense of wanting to bring any of the rhythms more into the energy of this place? And in your own timing, just face each direction of the circle, each rhythm, and see if you want to bring some in, and just bring some of that energy in, invite it into your body, like reinforcing whatever energy you might need from any of the rhythms. They are your constant resources.
And keep, as you turn, you can keep revisiting the physiology of that obstacle and bring the rhythm to and through that physiology. What rhythm seems to be called most? Flowing, staccato, chaos, lyrical, stillness.
Or a combination.
Feel from the center, feel all 5 rhythms around you.
And when it feels right to you, but not before, let your body come to stillness and just feel the presence of these different energies as they move through you, the way they move in you, and what has transformed in your relationship to this obstacle, the energy of this obstacle, by bringing these energies of the rhythms in.
There may even be a point when you want to pick up your symbol, hold it, realizing that you can hold this. And as you literally hold it, you are a space bigger than it. And you can hold it with whichever rhythm or combination of rhythms feels the most important. Almost a little bit like you're dancing with it.
And just be aware of how your relationship is with it now.
Bring softness, strength, playfulness. And again, there will be a time when you once again reach a place of stillness, present, open, awake. Perhaps a new relationship with this symbol, obstacle, which maybe is no longer an obstacle. Maybe it is a guardian. Perhaps through your exploration, you have a more deep understanding of the positive intention. Of your response. Very often at the end of a transformational process, for me there's two places that I might bring these old obstacles. One is into like a museum table of old beliefs, old obstacles, in which case you can put it back on the obstacles table. Or it's transformed into a guardian, in which case it doesn't belong in a museum, it belongs with me but as a guardian. And you have that choice. Don't make the choice just yet, but think about where you would like to place this in the space. Either it goes back on the obstacles table as a museum piece, or it can come with you on the resources table as a guardian. But don't place it that yet. We're going to do something before. But just begin to think about that, where you would do it. And in just a moment, when you're ready, we're going to ask you to find one or two people nearby and share a little bit about your experience. You can show the obstacle and explain, express what was your obstacle, what happened during this dancing with it, what's happened, and where you're choosing to place it and why.